we just wrapped up a 2018 S7. This has been one of my favorite builds. In fact, all of these V8, S6, and S7s I find is the best bang to the buck for noise, for functionality, for improvement over some factory defects. You just can't beat this car. What we did here, we put in the HPA RS7 Hybrid Turbos. We put in the HPA 40T downpipes and mid pipes, which have the high flow cats. And effectively, most of these cars, they suffer from a TSB with a oil screen concern where the turbos get wiped out. It's quite a routine car to come through our shop. What happens when the turbo gets wiped out, the bearings go. And what we've created is a kit where we retain the manifolds in the car, so the installation is a lot easier. The heavy cost of these beautifully factory engineered heat shielded manifolds don't have to be replaced. We're putting in the new cartridge, the new compressor housings, matched that with the flow matched downpipes, and we unleash the power of the motor. We have our designed oiling bearing in the turbo. Of course, we do the TSB at the same time for the oil screen. So you're building back in longevity. You're putting in 150 more horsepower and torque. You're freeing up the sound, the intoxicating note that this motor makes. And bar none, for a family car, for a professional sedan to cruise around in, you're not going to beat this car. Optically, they look great. A few years ago, you'd seen us debut our 40T program on a S6 of 2016, the facelifted edition. We've done hundreds since then, but this S7 has that sloped back end. It was very Mercedes-esque back in the day when it came. And to feel the rumble and to be in the mid-500s now on performance numbers on our Superflow, which I think everyone accepts as a conservative output, it makes it a serious contender.
Okay, let's have a look at the results.
Yeah, okay, so this is on our Superflow. Now, one thing to note, all these results are on our Canadian fuel, and for all those that understand the disparity, in Canada, our 94 octane is nowhere near as strong as a US 89. The red is the baseline for the motor when it comes in with the factory turbos. The blue, which is your torque and your horsepower, is as it is just dynoed out here, 540 foot-pounds of torque and 550 horsepower. And the green was an RS7 performance pack low mileage car that we brought into baseline to just see how our hybrid RS7 turbos were comparing. So we make a lot more torque on the onset for throttle response than the factory RS7, and then we match it in horsepower, which is quite a feat when you consider the disparity in cost between the two packages. And if you look at where the car started, here at a nice round 400 foot-pounds of torque in the mid-range, and now we're kissing 550 in the mid-range, and you had a very peak point horsepower at 5,500 RPM at the shift points. Now, I must preface, these cars have the DL501, the DSG gearbox, a 7-speed. This does include a mandatory tune on that to free up the torque allowances, to allow a higher RPM in the power band, to sharpen up the shifting. That's what you'll see here on the dyno curve, that the factory, it was limiting itself just at mid 5,500, where now we can run it all the way up here to shy of 6,500. And that gives us this nice arcing horsepower. So you get this sense when you get in this car, you get this rumble, the freedom of the V8 with the higher flow catalytic converters in it. The onset of torque is sensational. It just hits you like a sledgehammer. When we nail the rollers at 2,600 RPM to accelerate, by 3,000 we're producing 540 foot-pounds of torque. And this is Superflow. I mean, this is real numbers. This thing is truth in numbers. It's a very conservative. From the factory, these were claimed to be 450 horsepower cars, like an RS7 with a 5.0 or the 2.5 turbo. They're all 50, 60 horsepower less on Canadian fuel. There's more if we ran this car again on a race fuel or in a US 92 octane, which is our benchmark for tuning. But it's quite an achievement to send this car out at almost 550 torque and horsepower on Canadian fuel. No methanol systems, literally jump in, push the start button, and go.
Yeah, and cheaper than replacing with OEM turbos, right?
Well, yeah, it's about half the cost. Again, you don't have to rebuy the expensive exhaust castings that lay in the valley. You're getting the compressor and the cartridge. You match that with our downpipes, and you have this benefit at the back end with the software tag to it.
And on sale.
Right, and on sale. smell to it. Okay, doing this. That's a wonderful note. I don't know how much your phone's going to pick up of that, but sounds like a little mini race car. I'm a dedicated NASCAR fan from the old days. I feel the torque, eh? Nice little burble. Try to catch that. Friday afternoon traffic here. You should enjoy it. I love this car.